One of the common misunderstandings for consumers is, how much power do I need for the speakers I'm thinking about buying? And in 50 years of experience, I'll tell you quite honestly that 90% of the damage that we've had to repair to speakers, and typically it's the tweeter, is the fact that the speaker has been underpowered as opposed to being overpowered. And so we get questions like, well, the speakers I'm looking at are rated to 80 watts, and the amplifier I have is rated to 100. The answer is quite simple: no problem. There's a number of reasons behind that, but essentially it's the damage that is done to a speaker is caused by something known as clipping. And what happens is, rather than having a nice smooth sine wave, it's as if you drew a line through the top and bottom and cut them off, so that you have these corner spikes, and that's where the clipping occurs. And that is a factor that generates heat. Now, when you're looking at a conventional loudspeaker, one that uses cones, they have voice coils. And the voice coil for the woofer is much thicker than this one used for the tweeter, where they want it to move very quickly, so it has to be very thin and nimble. And it's the tweeter voice coil assembly that actually bakes. It burns up. And so the underpower of the speaker is really what causes this problem. Now, I'm going to take this a step further, because power ratings in and of themselves are suspect. For the record, power ratings of two-channel products, in fact, is regulated. There's a testing procedure that the products must meet in order to be certified for a certain power level. This does not apply to home theater receivers. So you may see these tremendous numbers coming on home theater receivers. It has 10,000 watts or something like that. And the fact is that there's no scientific requirement that those amplifiers have to meet to generate that number. In terms of two-channel products, they're put on an 8-ohm test load resistor, which actually doesn't occur in reality with speakers. They also have to run the unit at full power for an hour, so that if there's any question about its thermal stability as an amplifier, that's going to be answered. And then they have to specify the amount of distortion they're willing to tolerate. And while those factors don't have an absolute relationship to what an amplifier really does, it is at least a basic framework. And again, two-channel products have to do that. Home theater products, home theater receivers and stuff don't. So if you have a speaker that is rated for quote-unquote less power than a home theater receiver, you're probably still very, very safe. I'm sure there are exceptions out there, as there always is in life, but please understand that you unless you're playing really loud all the time, you're just simply not going to run into a problem. The truth of the matter is, most speakers produce about 90 decibels of sound pressure at 3 feet on 1 watt of power. Well, 90 decibels is a car horn at 10 feet. So I'm going to get into later on in the next video where I talk about power consumption versus sound pressure. And I'll explain this a little further in depth. But for the moment, you shouldn't be terrified by a slight differential in the numbers.